Mr. Sloot?
Thank you, Mayor Diamond, members of council. We really appreciate, on behalf of the Communities in Bloom Committee, this opportunity to present our 1997 Garden and Environment Competition Award winners, or five Bloom winners, I must say. And we're certainly happy that you had this meeting on the 20th so we could recognize residents that were the winners. As you may be aware, this is the second year for the Communities in Bloom city-wide garden and environment competition. And a couple of changes were made in 1997 that to try to amalgamate all the different awards and competitions that we have in the city, we combined the cul-de-sac program that's been very successfully delivered by the Public Works Department and still is administered by that department, and the Downtown Floral Beautification program, which is administered by DAC, all under the umbrella of the Communities in Bloom Garden and Environment Competition. And as we mentioned the last time we were here, we also endorsed the national ratings of Communities in Bloom and rated everyone on a 1 to 5 Bloom rating. For those that weren't here, that's very similar to movie ratings or hotel ratings being 1 to 5 star ratings. So the awards that are being presented tonight are being presented to those in each category that achieved a 5 Bloom rating. The remainder of the ratings 4, 3, 2, and 1, those individuals will receive recognition by certificate in the mail. I'd like to mention and give special thanks to the Oshawa Garden Club, and particularly Mr. Ron Bilski, who is not here tonight, he's on vacation, for organizing and doing the judging of all the entries. This is becoming a real feat. As you may see, there's literature in front of you that identifies that in 1996 we had approximately 142 entries, and in 1997 this has expanded to 248 entries. So just the task of going around and judging these various homes is incredible, and we really could not do it without the assistance of those of the Garden Club, and a special thank you to all of you. I'd at this time also like to play a special acknowledgement to the Oshawa Camera Club for their efforts in taking photos of the different entries, the Oshawa Garden Club, as we mentioned, and certainly to all our Communities in Bloom partners that have assisted us and helped us deliver this program. So before we move on to the presentations, we have a special presentation which Councillor Potticari is going to make.
She here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Councillor.
You know, we have one person working down on our staff who goes beyond the call of duty. She works on Saturday, sometimes Sunday morning, without pay, naturally. And she's a big clog in the wheel to keep this contest going. And this is the second year she's been working this hard. So we have a little presentation to Beth Ward. And is she in the crowd?
Where's Beth? Oh, here she is.
Oh, here she is. I want to thank you very much for the help that you've given us.
That's a 5 Bloom rating. Okay, on to the award winners.
May I just say, excuse me,
Sure,
just before
sorry.
you start, I wanted to add a word of pride in the city, and before each of you will receive your award, that we offer congratulations from council. We held the Greater Toronto Area Mayors meeting in Oshawa last weekend. So the mayors of about 30 municipalities came in. And I asked Mr. Sloot and the park staff to try to leave the flowers in place because of the beauty that they provide to the city on the route in. And so I hope that some of yours were recognized, and overall the work of the Garden Club and DAC were certainly recognized. So now we can proceed with the awards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Diamond. In the residential A category, this is a single family dwelling. And these are in no order. These are all 5 Bloom winners. Grace Hartchick, if you could come forward as I call your name, and if we could hold the applause till the end of each category. Grace Hartchick, 544 Steerforth Street. Jean Rezizuski, and I apologize for any pronunciation that I... 14 Oshawa Boulevard South. Claire McGregor, 480 Milton Street. Dan O'Keefe, 564 Harmony Road South. Ruth and Ed Zolski, 798 Sundance Circle. Doris Villeneuve, 66 Riverside Drive North. Marvin Belfour, 427 Prestwick Drive. Hermine Grostener, 155 Grandview Street South.
Thank you.
Fred and Lori Friendo Cumbo, 897 Sundance Circle, are not with us tonight. Jim and Lisa Strickland, 779 Philip Murray Avenue. Evelyn and Egon Fair, 1040 Denise Drive. Fred and Mary Gutman, 319 Grandview Street South. Nancy Steenberg, 943 Ripley Crescent.
Congratulations, and thank you. Pardon me? Oh, just a minute, I'm sorry. Oh, here we are. Okay, now, congratulations, proper. Thank you very much. Congratulations, and thank you. Now, Julie, stop. We've got the right one for you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Nothing. Congratulations, Judy. Thank you. Yes, congratulations. Yeah. Thank you.
Our Residential A 5 Bloom Award winners. In the Residential B category, multiple dwellings, townhouses, condos, etc. Plaza 700 and 900, Wilson Road North. Representing 700, Dr. Alan Fulton. 900, Lloyd Corson. Please come forward. Holiday Manor, representing by Reva Jessup and Molly Harvey. And Cedar Croft Place, represented by Lorna Catella.
Thank you. You give the instructions.
Is that you?
Oops.
Molly Harvey.
That's Miss Jefferson.
Oh,
900, that just went
there
up
you
there.
are, sir.
Okay. Okay, that's almost. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Okay.
I'd like to take a picture right around the corner.
Okay.
Lovely.
Congratulations.
Nice to be acknowledged.
Our Residential B award winners. In our commercial industrial site category, and I must make note here that this was very well, had a lot of nominees in 1997, and a lot of credit goes to the development and planning staff who really went out of their way to assist in going out and working on that particular category, and we thank them for that. A 5 award winner is Escalator Handrail Company Limited, 1287 Boundary Road, represented by Bill Everett.
I would like to say, on behalf of the company, to thank the city for this award. You know, we do have as our company, part of our mission is to help make the community a better place. So this helps indicate to us that we're moving towards achieving our mission. I also want to say thank you to Holland Thornway Property Services, who recently changed their name, as our property maintenance supplier, who've done an excellent job, and without their help, it would have been pretty difficult to win this. Thank you.
In the downtown floral beautification, the law office of Kelly, Zuli, Greenway, and Bruce. And I'm not sure if there's a representative here tonight or not. Okay. And John Weiss Hair Design, 198 King Street East. John is here.
Thank you, John.
The downtown floral beautification winners. In the environmental competition, we have one 5-bloom Mr. William Dell from 191 Woodlea.
Do we need you later tonight?
I hope not.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Our Environment Award winner. And last, our cul-de-sac program, if Councillor Spring come forward. Again, another successful year for the cul-de-sac program. And if anybody's had an opportunity to get out and see the signs that have been installed, they're very, very excellent. 5 Bloom Award winners in the cul-de-sac program. Pondtail Court, represented by Mr. and Mrs. Kent. Palm Court, represented by Mr. and Mrs. Yoakum. And Glenridge Court, represented by Mrs. Metcalf.
Yes, good.
Oh, that's behind you.
Very much. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Metcalf couldn't be here, so I'm going to go with the girls.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Our cul-de-sac award winners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And again, thank you to staff and to everyone involved for such a great community effort. You've made the city look beautiful, and it's appreciated. Thank you. For those who would wish to leave, please feel free to do so. If you'd like to stay, obviously you're welcome to stay with us for the meeting. Get to be seconded very quickly. Could I have a motion on the adoption of the minutes? Councillor Lucic, seconded by Councillor Gray. Are there any questions to the minutes? Those in favor of the motion? Opposed? That's carried. Correspondence items 1 to 6 are noted for referral. Thank you. Moved and seconded on the referral. Are there any to be pulled? Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Correspondence item number 31. Councillor Nicholson.
Response be referred to the first meeting of the new council, and the motion approved by council be reconsidered.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Councillor.
Move that this item of correspondence be referred to the first meeting of the new council. At that time, council consider whether or not to reconsider this motion.
Thank you. Motion to refer to the next meeting of council, seconded by Councillor Clark. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item 61 and 62. Here, seconded. Councillor Kolodzy, question on either one. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Delegations. Yes, I'm sorry, Councillor Spring?
I'd like to speak on a point of personal privilege, if I may.
Yes.
Tonight we have received at our desks a piece of additional correspondence which specifically names me. It comments that there is a quote in my literature, my campaign literature, that is attributed to a senior member of our staff who spoke positively of my role as chair of Public Works. I want to confirm that this was a personal comment, and in no way should it be perceived as an endorsement on behalf of the City of Oshawa. It was strictly a personal comment made by this individual, and that the City of Oshawa has no policy with respect to endorsements of that type. For instance, employees of the City of Oshawa are free to have lawn signs, and this would be a similar type of endorsement. And that quote was only one of several quotes in my campaign literature that spoke to my activities in the City of Oshawa. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'll give you a motion to receive and file.
Thank you. Let me just get to the, could we just do them in order, please? The first is the follow-up on the who does what numbers. Oh, that's additional correspondence number 2. Where's number 1, please, Mr. Clerk? I have 2 and 3. Okay, thank you. The first item is Folk Arts Council wishing to address Council on the Community Services report that's coming forward this evening. Okay, moved by Councillor Beale, seconded by Councillor Gray, that they be heard at the time of deputations. Those in favour? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item number 2 is, I've received for information, it's the package, received for lack of information, the package of numbers from the province. Thank you, Councillor Mason. Seconded. Councillor Luchik. Councillor Nicholson.
Amendment B, that we request our Oshawa members of provincial parliament to press for the immediate release of the full package of correct numbers so we may know what the tax rate is for the City of Oshawa.
Second it.
And just to speak to that briefly, Madam Mayor, I appreciate this information is, and I think your comments, lack of information, is appropriate. But we have 3 sitting members in this city who sit on the government benches, and I believe it's their responsibility to the taxpayers who elected them to provide the taxpayers with full information. And it's simply not good enough for us to write and continue week after week to ask for the correct numbers. It's important that our members of provincial parliament also request the ministers to release the information. There is a large number of residents who are looking at possibly as much as $200 per household tax increase in this community. And we're trying to confirm the final numbers to know exactly what that tax increase could be. And I believe the government has a responsibility to release the information, and that our elected members have a responsibility to press for that release as quickly as possible. And I've asked Council to support the motion.
Councillor, could I ask you to include in your motion a strong statement to the province that the local municipality wishes to meet with the province? What's happening now is the province is dealing only with the region, and even there we are experiencing great difficulty in trying to determine what day this meeting will be held. If you would add a statement of insisting that the province meet with the lower tier municipalities as well?
Well, Madam Mayor, I'm going to go one step further. I would suggest that an immediate meeting be called between representatives of the province, our local MPPs, and the representative municipalities to release the information. And I think you're right. We elect 3 MPPs. They have to do the job. We're expected to do the job come January 1st to make sure the tax rate of the city is set. They've got to do their part by telling us what the numbers are going to be, and they can't sit this one out any longer.
Okay. Thank you. The seconder on your motion, Councillor Kolodzi. I would say for those of you who have not yet had an opportunity with the numbers, they basically kept telling us the population of the city.
We knew it.
And we knew that. We are no further ahead for January for our ability to set a tax rate with the information that came out last week. So we're right back where we were. On the motion, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item number 3. Receive and file. Thank you. On the motion, Councillor Kolodzi.
Yes, Madam Mayor. On the the one that we had civil servants promoting politicians. Is that the letter
Yes.
we're referring to? Yes, I'm opposed to receiving and file. I appreciate what the councillor has spoken concerning the fact that she said it was a personal message portrayed by a private citizen. But in my view, that's, when you see what's stated on the brochure and flyer, I think that something positive that can come out from this particular situation, and I would say refer to staff to develop a policy concerning civil servants making comments during election time. So I'll be opposed to receiving and filing.
Thank you. Further on the motion, Councillor Nicholson.
Just so I can be clear, if it's Councillor Spring would ask a question of her, did she indicate that a correction would be placed in that to indicate that it's not an endorsement from the city? I wasn't sure what she was saying, so I was just a little confused.
Councillor Spring?
I clarified that it was not a city endorsement. The city of Oshawa isn't actually mentioned in the quotation, and I have no intention of retracting the statement because I don't believe that the person who made the quotation in any way misrepresented the role that I've played at the city of Oshawa.
Thank you.
Well, then, Madam Mayor, I would support the referral, or I'd suggest a referral.
Well, I haven't accepted the referral as a motion because Councillor Kolodzy spoke at some length.
Well, having asked the question, then I would then move the referral.
You got to receive and file on the floor.
Yes.
She can attest to that first.
Am I in order to move a referral motion?
The item is before us.
Yeah, I'd like to
Mr.
move
Clerk?
The councillor wishes to refer the receive and file motion to staff to develop a policy. I believe that would be in accordance with our rules of order.
Okay. Did you wish to test that motion?
Well, I would like to move a referral that
Okay.
refer to staff, and that staff will provide a policy of clarification as to the role of staff members supporting elected officials within the city of Oshawa.
Okay. Okay. So the item is to be referred to staff. This letter would be referred to staff to develop a policy. Okay. On the referral. Those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. That's it for the additional correspondence, Mr. Hoyt? 3 items?
We have a fourth item.
4.
Refer to the P&E committee report.
Thank you. Refer to the report of planning. Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Beal. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Delegations, we have a note. Is Mr. Cash here yet? He's coming from Toronto and would appreciate the opportunity to address council when he's able to get here. Councillor Nicholson?
I can move that this item, delegation, be tabled to later in the meeting.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lucic. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And would those who would recognize Mr. Cash advise when he comes in, please? Thank you. Item number 2, Donald and Dorothy Holmes requesting to address council. Could I have a motion to hear?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Akers, seconded by Councillor Harrell. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Would Donald and Dorothy Holmes come forward, please? But you're welcome to come up and join me here. Would you mind? The microphones will pick up here. It'll just make it a little easier. Sorry.
Referring to the matter that's at hand. Fine here. Okay, which is a plan of subdivision. Okay, concerning 18T.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I can't hear him.
Would you please sit so I get the microphone?
Okay.
You're welcome to come around the other side here.
Okay. Draft plan of subdivision, okay, 18T 9503, Bafe Developments Limited,
and Slice Developments, okay, in Ward 8. Okay, and there's been some recommendations made, okay, to the committee, and this has all apparently been passed, or was passed this afternoon or last Tuesday, because I'm not all clear on what goes on in the procedures here, okay, on the bylaws, and apparently this is going to get passed through. And some of the questions I had for council before they actually pass this through is, one, is a school that's going to be built on the properties. Is that going to be done for the 1998 year? Because it seems to be a big busing concern. And if not, where the money's going to go otherwise? These are some of the concerns I come up with after this meeting this afternoon. Okay. I have not opposed or said that I don't want this to go through. And one of the reasons I've said that is because of the school, not because of what my feelings are and what guarantees were in place prior to that. There have been new guarantees put in place or should be put in place. And hopefully that these guarantees would be much better than the ones that were brought to us through the Ontario Municipal Board. Have great concerns that maybe they won't be. Don't know how reliable some of this stuff is, because you find a document, it is registered on title, and then you find out that these things are not always what they seem to be. I guess that's all I've got to say, and I would thank the council for listening to me, but I still have got concerns about the whole thing, and I really don't want to oppose anything to do with the school, but hopefully the school would go through for a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions to the delegation? Okay, thank you very much. Council, I did have one other piece of correspondence that came in late this afternoon, and I will ensure that members of council get a copy. It is from Rideau Hall, and it's on behalf of the Governor General. On behalf of the Right Honourable Romeo LeBlanc, I would like to thank you for your recent correspondence concerning the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales. This is addressed to me that we forwarded the books of condolence. As requested, the expressions of sympathy have been forwarded to London, and I'm certain they will be greatly appreciated. So we have confirmation that the books have gone through. Mr. Clerk, I'll give that to you. Are there any matters tabled to be lifted from, Folk Arts Council? I've got, trying to move along here. Deputation, Mr. Roy Morrison and Mr. John Burns. Got too many pieces of paper here tonight. Thank you. Who's going first? Okay. This is the Community Services report on the Waterfront Festival for next year. Mr. John Burns.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you to the Community Services group for meeting with us this afternoon, and thank you to City Council for allowing us to be on the agenda this evening. We had made a proposal to the City of Oshawa, which was passed, and we're now back to you. We would like a couple of amendments made to the original motion, which I'm sure Community Services will allude to. Since we've gone into the planning stages for this festival, the CAW has expressed a great interest in joining us on the Saturday. And due to the size and the volume of the crowd that we anticipate from the CAW picnic being held on the Saturday of the Waterfront Festival, we have gone back to the Community Services Department and asked for additional space at Lakeview Park, relocation of some of the venues, and I guess getting in a little earlier so that we can erect fencing and get everything under control. That was presented to Community Services this afternoon, and I'm sure they will inform you what their decision was. We're here to answer any questions or concerns that might arise, and we ask for your support in this event.
Mr. Morrison?
Thank you, Mayor Diamond. I would just like to say that on behalf of the Oshawa Folk Arts Council, we hope that you will see fit to grant the necessary changes that we feel will accommodate the CAW picnic, namely the North Fields at Lakeview Park. And as there is an urgency in dealing with the planning and the necessary commitment to our sponsors, we urge that you would pass this motion this evening and grant us the opportunity to make a speedy conclusion to this venue. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Are there any questions to Folk Arts Council? Councillor Gray.
So all the changes here and the recommended action, you're in full agreement with the recommended action, is that correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. Would you, well, one of you like to give just a quick overview of where it stands of fireworks and things to get people interested for next
Certainly.
year?
The Friday night is anticipated a fireworks display. The location presently is to be worked out to be satisfactory both with the fire department and the other bodies. It may or may not be on a barge on the lake. That will be determined. The Saturday will be, Friday night will be a concert by an international group who we're in the middle of negotiating with at the present time. The Saturday will be the CAW picnic along with the Waterfront Festival. The north part, or where the soccer pitches are, if you're familiar with Lakeview Park, will be where the CAW will hold their children's activities. That will be basically for them. That's their area. They've asked that they have an area of the park to do this. The rest of the park, if you have your little map in front of you, basically lays out where we anticipate the other events to occur. Part of the recommendation, and I don't know whether council has received it, and I'm sure Mr. Kolodzy will go on to it. There were two more additions to, oh, you have it. There were two more additions to it that we have agreed to. We have asked that we be allowed to start erecting, and I don't know if that got covered, and if it didn't, my apologies, that we will be allowed to start erecting the special events fence, which will have no bearing or will not withhold anything going on Lakeview Park on those dates. The fence is quite large. It's a 7-foot high fence anchored in concrete blocks. We anticipate hopefully starting Wednesday or Tuesday to erect this. It will not block off anything in the park. The Saturday will be activities again with the CAW. There will be a children's area. There's a midway that will take place down in the parking lot where the beach area is. A Calypso Beach party down in proximity to that area. A crafts area which will run north from the Historical Society's houses, the group of 3 houses and buildings down there, and children's area over towards the other end of the park. We're not sure about the boat cruise at the present moment. That's anticipated. We're in negotiations right now with pricing on that. The Sunday,
as the negotiation continues on that issue, we will look at that tying in the fireworks for the same Friday night. But hopefully everything will come forward as the plans come together.
Then on the Sunday or Saturday night, we'll conclude with another large international group. There will be 2 separate acts, one on the Friday night, one on the Saturday. The Sunday will continue again with children's area, the midway rides, the parade, the fiesta concert, and I guess we're having the food booths for 2 days.
Yes, that's correct.
The Jubilee Pavilion will be running and I'll get this right tonight, a Monte Carlo event in their area. We've talked to Mr. Pope tonight, and we have a meeting arranged with him within the next 2 weeks to confirm this. Then the Sunday will be just a continuation, and we anticipate everything closing down around 7 o'clock and hopefully out of the park by 9. Fencing will take a little longer. We've asked also that the washrooms be kept closed. We will be putting in portable washrooms. We do not want any damage to occur to them, and it will lessen the staffing in the area.
Okay. Are there any questions? Councillor Potticari.
I'm wondering, could you explain, will you be meeting with the Lions Club and any other clubs soon?
We had talked to Mr. Pope tonight, and I'm not sure. I know Mr. Peterbicki is with the Oshawa Central Lions Club. Mr. Pope gives us the impression that we are to meet with him. At that point in time, I don't know whether the procedure is he will go back to the Club Nestor, but we're under the impression that our dealings are with Mr. Pope. If there are further meetings that are required with the Charities Association, we're more than happy to meet with them also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bidrebecki?
I think the only thing was that they wanted some correspondence or some kind of relationship as to what was going to happen. I think that was supposedly what was going to happen at your last meeting quite some time ago. And I just want to assure the Folk Arts Council and everybody else that we, as the Oshawa Central Lions, we certainly are behind this project 100%. We just want to get some dialogue going to know where everybody is, because it does also concern 6 other charities that we feel quite responsible for with regard to fundraising in the Jubilee Pavilion. So that's the only reason I think that Mr. Pope would require a meeting at this point in time.
I think one of the problem here, Mr. Bidrebecki, is that if we're going to meet with other clubs outside of our own, the Oshawa Folk Arts Council and the CAW, because the negotiation at this point is so delicate, we're not including these clubs. However, once we get the okay in writing from the CAW that everything is fine, then we will bring the other clubs in to the table and iron out all the details with the Jubilee, with the Charity Association, with the neighborhood, etc. And as you're aware, we're here because time is the essence, that we can get these planning forthcoming as soon as possible.
I'm very sure you're very successful on it, and I just want to repeat that we're certainly behind this 100%. It's just a matter of dialogue, so everybody knows where they're going is all they're after, I'm sure. As Mr. Pope, I'm sure, has pointed out to you at the meeting.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? I would also recognize the members of the executive and others from the Oshawa Folk Arts Council. Thank you for being here tonight to support this project. It's going to be quite an event. Oh, okay.
And if we might, we'd like to present her worship with a small gift on behalf of the Folk Arts Council.
Oh, right.
On behalf of the Oshawa Folk Arts Council and its member group, we would like to present Mayor Diamond with this jacket. It's a kickoff to the Oshawa Waterfront Festival for 1998.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, John. Thank you. And there's Lodi.
You got her.
Okay, thank you. We'll consider the item at Community Services tonight. Any items tabled to be lifted from the table? Committee reports, planning and development, please.
But with the support of the committee, we are withdrawing 6, 7, and 8, so I'll move the balance.
1, 2, 4.
Who asked for 2, please? And Councillor Aker, 4. The planning report being items 1 to 10, excluding 6, 7, and 8, which have been withdrawn, and 2, 4, and 5, which have been questioned. Okay.
Madam Mayor, in item number 1, there have been 3 changes which were handed out a little earlier.
Okay, I'll pull 1,
Yeah.
2, 4, 5. You have withdrawn 6, 7, and 8. And on the remainder, those in favor?
What's left?
9, 10.
In item number, excuse me.
Actually, item 3 as well. Okay, so now we're on number 1, please.
Pardon? Oh, in item number 1, I'd only bring to council attention the fact that there has been an amendment in item MM, and there are 2 new conditions, YY and ZZ or ZZ. And I would like to move that these amendments be made at this time.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clark. So as presented in the book with these amendments. Thank you. Is there any discussion? On the motion, the amendment first, those in favor? Opposed, carried. On the main motion as amended, in favor? Opposed? Carried. Is that setting a record for the number of pages in one agreement?
I guess so.
Item number 2, Councillor Potticari.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to say that the people in Wildflower Court are very pleased. Councillor Dykstra and myself been working with them for several weeks, and they were so concerned that their beautiful homes would be surrounding garbage cans on garbage days, and I'm pleased that the planning department has put reverse lots in it, because this is a beautiful court, and naturally in the beautiful ward of number 9. Thank you.
Thank you. On item number 2, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. You have to give the new ward numbers now.
It's the last chance, isn't it?
You bet. Item number 4, Councillor Aker.
Declaration of interest as my firm insures Durham College.
Thank you. On item number 4, further?
No.
In favor?
No,
Excuse me, what are you
I have a
signaling,
comment.
Councillor? Item number 4, Councillor Wiley.
Yes. I was just going to say that that Durham College was extremely pleased by how well the staff dealt with this. They said that in other communities, they didn't get quite the same service. Thank you.
Thank you. On the motion, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item number 5, Councillor Nicholson.
I would just urge council to support the committee recommendation. For those of us who have been around a few years, we would know the history of this site. There's been an area of contention for area residents for well over a decade. A large majority of the residents want to preserve the waterfront of the city in either parkland or an undeveloped nature area. It was always a bone of contention with the area residents when the province, through the OMB, allowed a subdivision to proceed in that area. And now with these motions coming forward, basically stale dating and showing that the project is not viable, it opens up the possibility of continuing to preserve much of what's left of the undeveloped part of Oshawa's waterfront, either in public holdings or in appropriate zoning. I think I want us to commend the staff of the department for bringing it forward and urge council to support this resolution.
Thank you. On item number 5, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Are there any questions to the chair of the planning committee?
Seeing none?
There being none. Public Works, Councillor Spring, please. And item number 2 would require a recorded vote.
Thank you, Mayor Diamond. The Public Works Committee respectfully reports and recommends to City Council its 59th report, including 14 items. I would like to speak to item numbers 7 and 12, and I would like to, on behalf of the committee, to make an amendment to number 9, to delete number 2.
Just a minute, please. An amendment to 9, so I'll pull 9.
Which is on page 119, to delete number 2 and renumber 3 and 4 as 2 and 3.
Okay, delete number 2 in its entirety?
That's correct, Mayor Diamond. There has been a building permit applied for that affects the installation of that sidewalk.
Okay, so delete 2, renumber throughout then, but we'll use the numbers that are existing at the moment for clarity. I've pulled 7, 9, and 12.
One.
Yes, okay. Okay, 1, 2 is pulled, 3 is questioned, 7, 9, and 12. Any further? On the remainder, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Nicholson, would you give me a motion to table number 1 until the end of the meeting in the hopes?
I shall do so.
Thank you. Table number 1 pending the arrival of the deputation, seconded by Councillor Kolodzi. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item number 3, Councillor Wiley.
I just wanted to thank the committee for acting on this. It was well received. Thank you.
Pleased to oblige.
Thank you. On number 3, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item number 7, Councillor Spring.
On item number 7, I just want, in the event that the recommendation of the committee proceeds tonight, I just want to advise the general public that the region and Miller Waste agreed to changes in the collection of blue boxes across the region starting on January 12, 1998. And one of those changes would involve moving collection for 1998 statutory holidays to the same day of the following week. So the residents of the city of Oshawa, should a statutory holiday affect their blue box collection, would go 3 weeks without collection and then would have 2-week collection, one following the other. There will be a table distributed by the City of Oshawa to the residents of Oshawa advising of the new schedules for refuse collection, blue box collection, leaf and yard waste, Christmas tree collection, and it will be very important that the residents of the city pay close attention because there will be some significant changes because of the new contract between the city and Miller Waste. Now, in terms of leaf and yard waste collection, the schedule will be the same as last year with 8 weeks of collection in the spring and 6 weeks of collection in the fall, and there will be 1 week of Christmas tree collection following Christmas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. I'm impressed that you could remember all that. On item number 7, those in favor, opposed, carried. All the yard waste. Item number 9, Councillor Spring.
Thank you, Mayor Diamond. The committee is requesting an amendment to that item to delete item number 2, that Holloway Holdings Limited complete the portion of sidewalk along the north side of Beatrice Street East in front of the residential properties known as 838 and 834 Beatrice Street East, no later than the 14th of November 1997. And the reason the committee wishes to withdraw that one item is that there was recently a building permit issued, and the property, one of the properties, is currently under construction, and the excavation is affecting the installation of the sidewalk at that property.
So subclause 2 of number 9 would be withdrawn.
That's correct.
Councillor Lucic?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I understand the rationale for the building permit. I just wanted to confirm that that will result in facilitating the development of the area.
Yes, that's correct,
And
Mayor
the
Diamond.
applicant is in agreement with that course of action.
Correct, Mayor Diamond.
Okay, thank you very much.
On item 9 as amended by the committee, those in favor, opposed, that's carried. Number 12, Councillor Spring.
Thank you, Mayor Diamond. Item number 12 deals with a request by the Oshawa Santa Claus Parade Association to conduct their annual Santa Claus Parade on November 15th, 1997. And should the recommendation of the Public Works Committee proceed, I just want to clarify that while in the past the route for the parade went from the Oshawa Shopping Centre, traveled east on King Street to Simcoe, south on Simcoe to Gibb, west on Gibb to the south entrance of the Oshawa Centre, there has been a request this year by the Parade Association to change the route, which is quite a deviation from past years, and just want the residents of the city of Oshawa to be aware that the proposal this year is that the parade would leave the Oshawa Centre and proceed along King to the East Mall Plaza at Wilson, so it would be a straight route this year.
Yes, will there be appropriate mechanisms so that the people who are in the parade can get a bus ride or something back to the shopping center to pick up your cart? Because it's a long walk back. That's why I'm asking. It's a fundraiser.
An excellent facility.
Yeah. Bring your wallets.
No, that's not correct, Mayor Diamond. I'm sorry. No, it was an amendment to item number 9, and we wish item number 2 to go forward. I misunderstood that it had been called by someone. No, we want item number 2 to go forward.
That's why, so it was sub 2 of
Of
9.
nine.
And
That's correct.
so item number 2 should proceed. Thank you, Mr.
Please.
Clerk. I thought it was item number 2. Well, I was surprised that it was quiet.
That's right.
Okay, all right. Now that I have the right number 2, it is requesting that Harmony Road North be closed to through traffic between Columbus and Howden Roads. Is there any discussion on this item? Recorded vote is required. I thought
Councillor
it was
Aker.
another building permit there. So.
Councillor Beal. Councillor Clark. Mayor Diamond.
Yes.
Councillor Gray.
Yes.
Councillor Harrell.
Yes.
Councillor Kolodzy.
Yes.
Councillor Lucic.
Yes.
Councillor Mason.
Yes.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yes.
Councillor Pidrebecki.
Yes.
Councillor Potticari.
Yes.
Councillor Spring.
Yes.
Councillor Wiley. That's 14 affirmative, 0 negative.
The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The explanation of a building permit being issued made sense in terms of that one as well, for a potential change. Are there any questions to the Chair of Public Works Committee? Councillor Lucic.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I had a question in regards to downtown Oshawa. I was walking around downtown Oshawa the other day, and I noticed one of the things that stood out was the line markings on the local streets for parking spaces and whatnot. Are quite faded and chipped. The paint's chipped, and it could do a repainting. And I was wondering if the committee could take that under advisement.
Yes,
Spruce up the area a bit.
We'd be pleased to do that, Mayor Diamond.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Thank you. Community Services. Councillor Kolodzy.
The Community Service Committee respectfully reports and recommends to City Council its 60-second report and asks you to pass 13 items. With after these are passed, I would like permission to introduce the 63rd report, which is the report on the Oshawa Folk Arts Council.
Thank you. So items 1 to 13, those to be questioned, please. Are there any further items to be questioned? Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Spring.
Diamond, on item number 12, my question is, did the people with fitness memberships receive notice that this was being dealt with by the committee? Because I don't believe it was on the agenda.
Councillor Kolodzy.
Madam Mayor, we no, they did not. But as the recommendation says there, that the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame will work with the fitness club membership to work out a satisfactory arrangements.
A supplementary question. Would this recommendation then be conditional upon a satisfactory arrangement being worked out with the membership? Because the recommendation does not speak to that.
Councillor Kolodzy.
It's our understanding that, as you can see in the motion, that it says that the members will occupy an existing facility until renovations are complete, and also that the Sports Hall of Fame will work with the fitness memberships to come up with a satisfactory situation.
Do I have a different...
Read the second part.
We'll pay for the cost. Is there a second recommendation? My number 2 says that the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame will pay for the cost of the renovations.
That's right.
Okay. So that in cooperation with the fitness membership work together to provide an area for the members, and that they will occupy the existing facility until renovations are complete. I'm still asking, is it conditional upon the fitness membership agreeing, since they didn't have notice of the meeting?
No.
Mayor Diamond, I'd like to move a referral of this item back to the committee, and I'd like to speak to the issue of timing.
Okay, is there a seconder on the referral to go back to the committee? No. So would you wish to speak on it now, Councillor?
Yes, I would, Mayor Diamond, please.
Yes, please.
Thank
proceed.
you, Mayor Diamond.
Excuse me.
I am very much in support of finding a new venue for the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame, but I have some concern that this is coming before us tonight. There's no backup report. I feel some concern that the people who have memberships at the Oshawa Civic have had no notice that this is coming before us tonight to give them an opportunity to speak to us. And although I, as I stated, very much support the Sports Hall of Fame having a facility, I believe they need a facility, I have some concern with the way this is being presented tonight and the lack of a staff report backing it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wiley?
Recommendation. See, the difficulty that the Sports Hall of Fame faced was that it didn't want to embark on a fundraising campaign unless it knew it had the possibility of having a site. And it is the full intention of the members of the Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors that the fitness people not be left out, that they'll work with them and develop an area that is just as good as the one they have right now. And that is the full intention. But we cannot proceed unless we know that we have some place to go. In other words, to maximize the fundraising effort and to say this is what we're going to do, this had to be done. And I support this, and I support the fitness people, and they're not going to be left out, absolutely not.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholson?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I obviously support the recommendations of the committee. I think we have to keep in mind that, you know, we can dance this thing around for another 2 or 3 years if we want. But I think we've been dancing too many issues around in this council the last little while. The last meeting, we had 2 major issues deferred on train whistling and camera, when we couldn't come to a plan of action of what we should do, and we'd simply defer, put it off to another day, let somebody else handle it. This is one that is not a surprise to anyone. And if you look at the resolution, it says that it be adopted in principle. It's a statement of intent. And this council should go on record making a statement of intent so that everybody in the city knows what we're trying to work towards. But it also indicates that the terms and conditions of the transfer room be investigated and referred to the new council. You know, these things don't happen by chance. You have to develop your intent, you have to work with your fundraising, you have to work with your community groups, and the new council, when it's elected, will have the final decision about the transfer and the appropriateness of any agreements that are brought forward. That is normally how the process works. But before you can go through that review process, before you can go through that negotiation process, you actually have to stand up and make a decision. And all we're doing tonight simply is adopting in principle that we as a council support the creation of an expanded Sports Hall of Fame, and that we'll work with all community groups, all fundraising groups, any group within the city that wants to assist in the project to make it a reality. All a referral would do is simply delay this process, again and again. And I don't think that's appropriate. I think it's time that we as a council let the electors out there know where we stand on this issue before the election, rather than hiding behind the election and only expressing our point of view following it.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to request a recorded vote on this issue.
Councillor Gray?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I had occasion to phone a member of the fitness club last night, and it seems that she and several other members of the fitness club have in fact held discussions with Glenn Welsh. So they're abundantly aware of what is planned. They certainly don't want to be in any impediment to the Sports Hall of Fame, and their only concern is to make sure that they have a comparable facility again. So and obviously from the city's perspective, it's an important source of revenue for us at the Civic Auditorium. So we're going to work hand in hand with the fitness club, with the Sports Hall of Fame, and I think it really is time to move on to get the Sports Hall of Fame so they can actually get out and do their fundraising, as has been mentioned by a previous speaker. So let's just move forward. Let's get on with the job, and let's let the Sports Hall of Fame, build something that's very important for the city of Oshawa.
Councillor Potticari.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There was 2 items we're holding this up. One, is there going to be a good room for the fitness people? We were assured tonight that there will be. The second issue was, who's going to pay for it? Now we know that the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame will be paying for the construction. So that clears the deck for them to start campaigning.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to close, if I may.
Yes, okay. I just ask if there are any further speakers who haven't spoken. Are there any further? Okay, thank you, Councillor Clancy.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, I'm really excited about this particular proposal that our committee has brought forward for the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame. I think that it's time that the Oshawa Sports Hall of Fame had a permanent home, and I think, as Councillor Potticari has pointed out, the previous speakers have pointed out, that due course will take place in terms of accommodating the fitness user, and I've seen some excellent photographs from the staff concerning how this transition can be made, and also be on the same level as a change room, so it'll be really a nice setup for everybody concerned.
Thank you. And I just confirm there will be consultation.
Yes.
The fitness people will have appropriate space, and this is not at a cost to the city.
That's right.
But the Sports Hall of Fame needs to establish the principle now.
We need to establish the principle so Mike Starr can go out and raise the money.
Okay. That's because he had to leave, so we'll blame him. Okay. Recorded vote has been requested, Mr. Clerk, by Councillor Clodsey.
Councillor Clodsey.
Yes.
Councillor Lucic.
Yes.
Councillor Mason.
Yes.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yes.
Councillor Pidrebecki.
Yes.
Councillor Potticari.
Yes.
Councillor Spring.
Yes.
Councillor Wiley.
Yes.
Councillor Aker.
Yes.
Councillor Beal.
Yes.
Councillor Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Diamond.
Yes.
Councillor Gray.
Yes.
Councillor Harrell.
Yes.
That's 14 affirmative, 0 negative. Motion
Carries. Mr. Young, we'll expect you to be out there immediately. Just like good, thank you. Councillor Clodsey, permission to waive the rules first,
Permission
please?
to waive the rules so I can introduce the 63rd report of the CS Committee concerning the expansion of the Oshawa Folk Arts Council on the Waterfront Festival at Lakeview Park.
Thank you, and your seconder is Councillor Lucic. On waiving the rules, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Clodsey?
You've heard the delegation to speak tonight on the expanded role of
Excuse me, would you be good enough to move the item now?
I'm sorry. The Community Service Committee respectfully reports and recommends to City Council its 63rd report and asks you to pass the item in front of you, item number 1.
Moved by the chair of the committee, seconded by Councillor Nicholson. Okay. Now, did you wish to speak to it?
No, if anybody else wishes to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Lucic?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. As Council's representative to the Oshawa Folk Arts Council, I just wanted to state that I'm very excited about the progress that the Waterfront Festival has achieved. It is something that the Folk Arts Council has been looking forward to for quite some time now, and as things evolve, I can see that there are more and more things that we can look forward to. Oshawa, of course, is a waterfront community. It has a beautiful waterfront. Lakeview Park is one of the finest waterfront parks on the entire lakefront. And I just wanted to state that we should commend the Oshawa Folk Arts Council for all their work. We should be very glad that we have an organization that is so effective and dedicated to this city, and that is here and is definitely part of our community.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholson?
Yes, I'd also like to echo some of those comments as well, and also add that it is nice for me, as a longtime member of the council, to see the CW return to Lakeview Park. It has always been a fine event, and we've had it at Lakeview Park year after year, and it was always unfortunate that they moved away from Lakeview Park because of various situations in the past. And it's nice to have them return back to the crown jewel of our waterfront. I'm especially pleased at the attitude of the Folk Arts Council representatives, that they want to work with the area residents and to deal with the issues of parking and accessibility. And I think they should be commended for that attitude, and I look forward to seeing this as not simply as a one-time event, Waterfront Festival, but I would hope that in the growing years we will see this as an annual event that will bring many people to this community, that will be a major event along our waterfront. And I know I look forward to seeing all of the city of Oshawa down in my ward enjoying the waterfront, as and those that live in the area really enjoy every day.
You can park at Brian Nicholson's place. He says it's open for parking.
Councillor Lucic? Okay. This is the Oshawa Folk Arts Council Waterfront Festival, June 19, 20, and 21, 1998. Recorded vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Councillor Lucic.
Yes.
Councillor Mason.
Yes.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yes.
Councillor Pidrebecki.
Yes.
Councillor Potticari.
Yes.
Councillor Spring.
Yes.
Councillor Wiley.
Yes.
Councillor Aker.
Yes.
Councillor Beal.
Yes.
Councillor Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Diamond.
Yes.
Councillor Gray.
Yes.
Councillor Harrell.
Yes.
Councillor Clodsey.
Yes.
That's 14 affirmative, 0 negative.
Motion is carried. Thank you to staff as well for pulling that together very quickly. Are there any questions to the Chair of the Community Services Committee? There being none. Fire Protection, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Fire Protection and General Purpose Committee respectfully reports and recommends to City Council its 59th report with recommendations 1 to 8 inclusive.
Are there any items to be questioned, Council? Number 1? Any further? On the remainder, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Number 1, Councillor Potticari.
Yeah, Madam Mayor. Recently I read an article in the paper, one of the local papers, that you were looking at preparing a bomb shelter. Now, the first thing I know, who's going to drop the bombs? And the second thing is, how could this council live together for 3 days and 3 nights? That's what I don't know. Could you explain where this came up?
I have no idea, Councillor Potticari. It certainly didn't come from us nor the fire department. Thank you.
Perhaps the Deputy Fire Chief would like to speak to the issue of an emergency plan for the city. It's a communications center, certainly not a bomb shelter. Mr. Bedford, I don't know.
Your Worship, that's not correct. Part of the emergency planning process for the city of Oshawa, there will be a need for an emergency communications center. A report and recommendation will be coming forward to council so that council has an opportunity to choose an appropriate location. At the moment, the recommended choice is the Arch Resource Center as a communication center.
Thank you. Okay. Are you satisfied there,
Yes.
Councillor?
So far.
Okay. The recommendation is only for funding so as to get it in before the end of the month. Thank you.
But it is communications in case of a chemical spill in a city fire hazard.
No bomb shelter.
On item number 1, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item number 5, Councillor Luchik, you questioned it?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm referring to 5C specifically, and that is the recommendation to proclaim November 28th to December 6th, 1997 as White Ribbon Week. And I just felt that I had to bring forth some information that troubling me considerably, and I think my sentiments are shared with others. And it's the recent negative news that came about with one of the largest child pornography seizures in history in Ontario and maybe even in Canada. And as a result of that, I was deeply saddened. I couldn't believe some of the details. I'm not going to repeat them, but they are very disturbing to know that things such as these are occurring right here in our community. And I just want to advise council that I do have a motion forthcoming at the time of motions to this effect.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Gray.
Just since we're doing discussing proclamations, I'd just like to, as the council representative for the Oshawa Durham Symphony Orchestra, I'd like to just toot the horn for the symphony. As many of you know, the symphony has been existing for 40 years and just entering its 41st season. And the music program that they present, 6 concerts are planned for the 97-98 season. And I would just like to invite councillors to partake of the concerts. They do an excellent job, and I think it's one of those hidden gems that we have in the city of Oshawa that not enough people actually know about. So, I just give my little ad for the symphony. Thank you very much.
Could I add for the symphony, the conductor has just won a worldwide competition. So it's a very significant recognition. Item number 5, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Questions to the chair of the committee? There is no executive committee report this evening.
Mike, before we get into the
Councillor?
motions, I just want to make an announcement on behalf of the Oshawa Transit Commission. If you haven't heard already, we will be going into Curtis as of November the 3rd. Clarington Council last Monday passed that, so we will be proceeding with that. It is our hope that it will be at no cost to the city of Oshawa. We're very fortunate to be able to get in on this. We'll have seamless transportation now from Curtis right through Oshawa to Whitby at this point in time, and perhaps in the very near future, we hope right through to Pickering. But at this point in time, we certainly have accomplished that. We're very fortunate to be able to get in there. We think that we can do it and make a few dollars, nothing significant, but at least it won't be at a cost to the taxpayers of the city of Oshawa. So there's some progress that we've been working on for quite some time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Nicholson, have you noted if Mr. Cash has arrived?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Then before we move to the motions, could I have a motion to lift from the table the item in Public Works and the correspondence to hear the deputation? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Spring. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Cash, would you be good enough to come forward, please? Do you wish to address council? Good evening. We tabled your item earlier in the meeting to give you an opportunity to get here.
I left notice to...
Yes, we had a note that you could be held up. You'd have up to 10 minutes to address council, and then we will be handling the item that is a Public Works agenda item. Okay, thank you. Council, Mr. Cash.
Do I speak?
Yes, you go ahead, please.
Regarding the hedge at 1403, it's slightly under 5 feet. There's two portions on either side of the driveway. Several of the members of the committee were there and have seen the item. I don't recall exactly if you had seen the hedge at all, Mr. Nicholson. You did? Oh, okay. You know. Okay, one hedge is approximately 3 meters long. Is that correct, Mr. Nicholson? It's approximately 3 meters long, the one portion. Yeah. And on the other side, it's just a little over a meter between the other property. It's back about 12 feet from the curb. So when you drive your car out, back it out or drive it out, from where you sit in the car, the distance between the front fender and the back fender, you have total view right up and down Ritson Road. So I fail to see where, in that sense, it obstructs any traffic or line of sight for traffic. It's such a short little bit of hedge that in terms of safety, it's been up for approximately 8 years and there's never been a complaint for the hedge by anybody. There is a problem with neighbors on both sides of my property. There seems to be an ongoing battle for various reasons, especially shoveling the driveway when you shovel gravel onto the other piece of property is not very conducive to neighborly spirit. My driveway is all paved. There's no stones or grass or large trees on the property, but there are on the other sides. So as regarding the rest of the literature on the item, I never received any notification from your department or yourself regarding letters that you received and some of the complaints, but I won't touch on them. The only item that I'm really concerned of is the hedge. There's 4 other homes on the street, 1419, 1437, 1429, that have hedges, trees, and shrubs taller than mine, closer to the street also. They've only dressed that portion of Ritson Road very nicely aesthetically, and there's never been a problem with line of sight or traffic or near misses or anything with children, adults, seniors, etc. That really, I find rather strange that all of a sudden this is an issue of all the homes on the street. They're farm-type fences with barnwood, and they're very decorative. There's never been a complaint. So my recommendation would be that you study the subject and perhaps use the spirit of the law, where it does dress the neighborhood up. There's no safety issue. There's no hazard to pedestrians or anybody. And you do, from a car going in and out of the driveways all up and down the street, clear line of sight. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions to the deputation? No? Thank you very much.
I have just one
yes, of course.
question regarding procedure. If a committee doesn't have a quorum, I'm not exactly sure the size of your committee, can the items on the matters brought before that committee be ratified at a later date?
Yes, they can. Was there a question of quorum, Councillor Spring, at your meeting?
Quorum when the item was heard, Mayor Diamond. There was quorum.
Okay.
just
Yes,
more to ask.
certainly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Spring, this item was tabled, is back on the table. Did you wish to address it on behalf of the committee?
This issue relates to a property at 1401, pardon me, Councillor Nicholson brought forward on behalf of Steve Bond of 1401 Ritson Road South regarding the dumping of debris in front of Mr. Bond's home. There were a couple of complaints that were received by the city related to 1403 Ritson Road South, where Mr. Cash resides. And in particular, the issue that remains unresolved is the fact that there is a hedge that runs parallel to the street, and the city bylaw number 165-70 requires that a hedge located in that position on the property not exceed 3 feet or 0.9 meters. And the hedge in question does significantly exceed that height, and there was concern expressed by the neighbors that if children were crossing the front of the property, that anyone backing out of the driveway would be unable to see them. And so it was dealt with at committee, and the recommendation of the committee was that the hedge be cut back to a height of 3 feet in order to comply with the bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nicholson?
Just so I can outline a little bit of what the major concern is, and Councillor Spring did touch on it briefly. The zone along Ritson Road South is a bus route in the area. It's also heavily traveled, and the side where the hedge is, there is no sidewalk. Therefore, the pedestrian way that most people use along the area is along the curbway, along the east side of the street. And unfortunately, although there's sidewalks on the other side, you can't get everyone, to comply, and they do walk along the curbs. If the hedge remains as it is, if you're backing out your driveway adjacent to either side of the properties, and someone is walking to the bus stop, which happens to be about 8 to 10 feet away from the hedge, then you're in a very serious situation, bringing conflict between pedestrians and vehicles. The bylaw is quite clear. It does indicate that there is a 3-foot maximum that is applied to everybody throughout the city, and I don't believe that we as a council would have the authority or it would be good sense at all to start giving exemptions to the bylaw. One can just see the problems that we would work into here if we allowed an exemption here, and then the other property owners would come in and demand exemptions as well. I can tell you, I was talking to a resident on Phillips Avenue where there has been some complaints about a corner hedge, and they have to make the cut, and this hedge has been there for 28 years. And the reality is that cut has to be made, and therefore I don't think we're in a position as a council to pick and choose when we enforce the bylaw and when we do not. I think we have to enforce it equally to everybody within the city.
Councillor Beale?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Touching on that same subject, I just had a resident in Ward 2 have to cut 3 meters both ways. It's a corner lot because this is what our zoning requires, and this is what they had to do. So if they had to do it, I'm sorry, but this is our law, our bylaw, and we have to enforce it upon a complaint, and that's exactly what's being done.
On item number 1, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Are there any, well, notices of motion wouldn't be until December, but I'll try. Notice of motion previously given. Councillor Clancy, did you wish to? Yes? Okay.
Move that the council of the city of Oshawa suspend its financial contributions to the Oshawa General Hospital until the hospital foundation releases publicly a full financial disclosure in accordance with the approved resolution of city council.
Okay, don't think I need to make a declaration at this point because we're not voting. Okay. Any further notices? Okay. Previously given, Councillor Clancy? We're not voting on anything tonight, so Councillor Clancy. And would you name your seconder, please?
Yes, moved by myself, Joe Kalazzi, seconded by Councillor Brian Nicholson, that the corporation of the City of Oshawa notify all taxpayers of the following information by newspaper flyers, website, newspaper advertising, etc. Beginning in 1998, the province is poised to make massive changes to municipal governments. The cost or benefits of these changes would be borne by you, the taxpayers, and that the municipalities have been challenged to continue to find savings and identify efficiencies and keep costs down, and to fund social housing, local public health, cost shared child services, and look after on-site septic tank, and to fund GO Transit. And that the people who owe you the explanation about the cost and impact of all these changes are your members of provincial parliament. It is your MP squared who will be voting to approve changes which will potentially have a profound impact on your quality of life. Ladies and gentlemen of council, this motion that I have presented this evening is very timely. The time has come for Oshawa to take a stand on the issue of downloading of services from the province and its possible impending tax increases to our residents. Firstly, in the Toronto Star, David Steen talks about the GTA mayors, and our Mayor Diamond is one of them, of a strike against pooling. He also mentions that the residents of Halton are getting this letter from their city, warning them about downloading. So it's been done in other communities. The large urban mayors decided to work on an ad campaign, and I'm sure that Mayor Diamond will tell us about that, what they're going to do in an ad campaign to give us the information about downloading. In Saturday's paper, we read again, we don't know what the numbers are. It's clear the province doesn't know what the numbers are, and yet they're dumping them on, they're downloading it onto the taxpayers. And we got that in this booklet tonight. And all we got in here is our population. Even our city managers quoted as saying, the province hasn't announced how it will allocate the funds, and as a result, we are in limbo land of tax increases. What I'm asking in this notice of motion is to inform the residents of the consequences of downloading. This is not without precedent. Brampton and Calleton are informing their residents, they're doing it a novel way, on November 10th through the ballot box. The little town of East Gilwillenbury did it by a flyer. And I like to present the flyer, and you've got to see it, and it's very cheap. There it is. And I like to say, just point out what they mentioned. Provincial decisions will result in increased property taxes. And I think that the residents of this city should know that. As a result of recent provincial announcement, municipalities across Ontario are facing growing uncertainty about the cost and revenues that they will be managing in January 1998. New assessment rules to be placed in January 1998 are expected to reduce the total amount of assessment by eliminating business occupancy tax, providing new exemptions for certain classes of property, and reducing farm assessment by 75%. With the escalating cost of new responsibility, reduction in provincial grants, and a reduced assessment base, municipal taxpayers throughout the province should be concerned that property taxes will rise significantly in 1998. So I'm asking this council to take a proactive approach in informing our residents. And ladies and gentlemen council, we know that we're all in the election business, and we could do this very cheaply. For a cost of $1,200, we could produce 40,000 flyers and give it to each one of the residents, and the in-house costs are presenting. So this is not an expensive thing to do. We have 40,000 householders in Oshawa. Multiplied, I can get it done for 3 cents a flyer, and it would cost us around $1,300. Pretty cheap to advertise what this province is doing to the taxpayers of this Oshawa. So, Madam Mayor and members of council, I urge you to support this notice of motion, and that I request a recorded vote. Thank you.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yes, I think it's time for we as councillors to clearly give information to our residents. There is so much misinformation out there. There rarely a day goes by where you don't pick up some minister from the government saying that you can actually cut billions and cut taxes at the same time. Every time we seem to hear from Mr. Leach or some of the others, they must have miracle solutions to government. I mean, they can't do it at Queen's Park. They haven't been able to do it at Queen's Park, but they seem to think that municipal politicians have this magic genie or something that we can cut all these services and at the same time cut taxes and somehow continue to protect the services we have. We know different. We live in the real world of fiscal politics here at the municipal sector. We live with balanced budgets every year. We know what it takes sometimes to get those balanced budgets. We don't go out and borrow and borrow and borrow like successive provincial governments have done over the last 2 or 3 generations. You know, this is not our mess. But we seem to have a provincial government that is simply trying to pass the mess they created, the mess that's been created in the provincial sector for many, many years, and by all 3 political parties. Let's be clear about that. No one party has a monopoly on fixing it. No one party had a monopoly on creating it. They all are guilty. And we should do that very clearly to support someone who talks about this being party politics. It's not. The reality is, though, that our taxpayers are concerned. When we see regional reports that talk about $240 per household tax increases and potentially higher. We were at a finance committee meeting last Wednesday, and I was talking to the regional chair, and he reminded a number of us that that report talked about 240 being the average, that some, in fact, might be less, and some, in fact, in this community might be much higher. And when we see those figures being brought by our staff, not being brought by politicians, I might add, by our staff, based on the basic information they've been able to glean out of the province, it raises some real red flags in our community. And I think it's simply abhorrent that this provincial government would pass legislation that says in less than 60 days they're going to change the whole range of services and expect us to pay for it. But 60 days prior to that change, they still won't tell us how much it costs. I think simply that is wrong. And that message has to be put on the front burner. We have to let our residents know that it is the province's responsibility to come clean about these numbers. Now, we can argue whether they're good or bad, but we have to know what they are first. And I think the province has simply no choice but to come clean on what they know. And conversely, if they don't have the numbers and they haven't got their act together, to postpone these changes until they can come up with a reasonable financial program. It is simply inexcusable for the province, with all the assets they have at their disposal in the Ministry of the Treasury, that they cannot come up with a simple explanation of what their policies mean in real hard dollars. And I think we have to be clear to say to our residents, if you're going to be hit with a massive tax hike or a massive reduction in services to pay for that tax situation, then we have to clearly indicate who is responsible for that. And it's not the City of Oshawa, and it's not the region of Durham, and it's not anybody in the local sector. It's a provincial government that can't get its act together. And they've had 3 years to do it. This resolution, I think, is valid. It's something that our taxpayers deserve to get from this government, and it's something we can join with our colleagues throughout the province in expressing to our residents.
Councillor Harrell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no problem with the intent of the motion. The difficulty I have is that I've heard 2 different things by the proponent, by the mover. The motion says that the Corporation of the City of Oshawa notify all taxpayers of the following information by flyers, website, newspaper advertising, etc. That's one statement that was made. The other statement was made that it could be done by flyers for $1,200. I think what we need here is a clarification of total cost and a clarification of the type or style of notification. All I want to know is whether we're spending $1,200 or $12,000. Could you clarify that?
Councillor Clancy.
Madam Mayor, I would be willing to spend $1,200 by a flyer. I would be willing to spend, $10,000 if that was a council. But I was trying to indicate that this can be done very inexpensively and with a minimum cost of the taxpayers. And I would welcome the flyer exposition.
But I think your flyer, you've only counted the distribution cost, not the printing cost.
Well, that's done in-house.
But Madam Mayor, the difficulty I'm having is the motion as it stands says that we're going to do it 4 separate ways.
I realize
that's what it says. Now, I don't support doing it 4 ways. I support supplying this information to our residents in the most cost-effective manner that we can, not in a very excessive manner, because if you take the literal interpretation of the words that are in front of it, you're going to do it 4 times.
Madam Mayor, I agree with what Councillor Harrell is saying. I use it as an example. I want it to be done cost efficient, and if that would help Councillor Harrell to
to, for example, support the motion, I would do it in a cost-efficient way by saying information by newspaper flyer, if that would be helpful.
Newspaper advertisements?
No, newspaper flyer.
Newspaper flyer.
That's expensive. What's that? Ads are very expensive.
Okay. That's it, Councillor?
Yes, that's fine, and I can support it on that basis.
So the intention is a flyer insert in a newspaper?
Yes, or delivering by other distributions, because it only costs 3 cents a...
Okay, so flyer. Councillor Wiley?
I think I'll pass for a moment.
Okay. Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am in support of having the public informed about this. I think that there is a great deal of confusion out there, as has been spoken about already. But one of the alternatives in terms of getting that information disseminated, I believe, should be as well our radio thing that we have working with the station up at the airport, because I believe we do have some advertising going up there, and I believe that that would be a good way of notifying people that there is a flyer in the newspaper and attracting their attention to it to get the widest readership possible. And I think that that would be a very useful way of using our advertising dollars with the radio station.
Thank you. Were there any further speakers? Councillor Wiley?
I think I'm going to move, and it's kind of an amendment to this, that it be referred to, I don't know who, Mr. Brown or whatever, for the proper wording or whatever for the
City manager for implementation?
To do this properly, just don't have this, somebody should do it. Yeah.
Okay. And that if this is carried, that the item would be delegated to Mr. Brown, to the city manager, to carry out in a cost-effective way.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's your amendment?
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor Dykstra. On the amendment, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I would just mention in terms of the GTA mayors and the large urban mayors caucus, we met in Oshawa last Friday. The analysis is underway with staff teams attempting to discern the numbers. There certainly is an attitude to fight back, looking at ad copy, and we will be receiving some copy. I don't have the updated one yet. Bumper stickers, anything that would mobilize the community. I think the message to the province is either you know the numbers and you won't tell us, or you don't know the numbers. And if you don't know the numbers, what are we doing? And the most urgent message is, how are we supposed to, as a responsible council, prepare our budgets for the 1st of January when we simply do not have numbers? And that's for individual homeowners and for corporations planning their budgets. It is not possible for us to do the work that we would normally have done by this time of year. So yes, the GTA mayors, large urban mayors caucus, working cooperatively, sharing resources, willing to do an analysis, but there's nothing from the province yet to analyze. So on the motion as amended, was a recorded vote requested? Thank you. Councillor Clodsey.
Councillor Clodsey.
Yes.
Councillor Lucic.
Yes.
Councillor Mason.
Yes.
Councillor Nicholson.
Yes.
Councillor Pitt-Rebecki.
Yes.
Councillor Potticary.
Yes.
Councillor Spring.
Yes.
Councillor Wiley.
Yes.
Councillor Aker.
Yes.
Councillor Beal.
Yes.
Councillor Clark.
Yes.
Mayor Diamond.
Yes.
Councillor Dykstra.
Yes.
Councillor Gray.
Yes.
Councillor Harrell.
Yes.
That's 15 affirmative, 0 negative.
Motion carries. Motions to be presented. Councillor Lucic.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Jim Potticary. Please bear with me. It's quite extensive. I'll try and read slowly. Whereas the commercial sexual exploitation of children is a fundamental violation of children's rights, treating the child as a sexual and commercial object, and whereas laws, policies, and programs exist to counter the commercial sexual exploitation of children, still greater political will, more effective implementation measures, and adequate resources are needed to eliminate this practice. And whereas the World Congress Against Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children, held in Stockholm, Sweden in August 1996, which was attended by representatives of 119 governments, adopted a resolution protesting the commercial sexual exploitation of children and recommended actions to eliminate this practice, including calling on all governments to address this issue and to take action both locally and globally to stem this practice through the development and implementation of stronger cooperation between governments and communities, the criminalization of this practice, enforcement of law and policies which protect children, the mobilization of political and other partnerships to assist in the identification and elimination of the commercial sexual exploitation of children. Therefore, be it resolved that Oshawa Council will, 1, endorse the declaration and agenda for action which was unanimously accepted by the delegations of 119 governments at the First World Congress Against the Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children, which was held in Stockholm, Sweden from August 27th to 30th, 1996. 2, request the federal, provincial, regional, and municipal governments to take similar action. 3, request that the International Covenant on the Rights of the Child be incorporated directly into Canadian law and the necessary changes be made to all the laws and regulations to bring them into congruency with the requirements of the Covenant. 4, support the Durham Regional Police Service in its efforts to detect and take action to eliminate the commercial sexual exploitation of children. And 5, convey its concerns on this matter to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and federal and provincial governments, requesting that these bodies undertake actions referenced in the motion and further detailed in the declaration adopted on August 28, 1996 in Stockholm, Sweden at the World Congress Against the Commercial Sexual Exploitation of Children. And just to speak very briefly, Madam Mayor, I appreciate the patience.
Councillor, would you first move that the rules of order be waived in order to allow the introduction of your motion?
I will so move.
Moved by your seconder, that you would second that?
It was an item that was it came in as correspondence to council. Everyone received a copy that this was.
Okay. Well, Councillor, you were bringing it forward as a motion. I would ask council to determine whether they wish to waive the rules. Should the answer be no, then it would be a notice of motion to the next meeting of council. Okay? There's no discussion on waiving the rules. Council will determine whether it wishes to handle this item tonight.
Not recorded vote.
Recorded vote requested on the motion to waive the rules, to allow the introduction of this item. Thank you.
On the motion, Councillor Lucic.
Yes.
Councillor Mason. No. Councillor Nicholson. No. Councillor Pidrebecki. No. Councillor Potticari.
Yes.
Councillor Spring.
No.
Councillor Wiley.
No.
Councillor Aker.
No.
Councillor Beal.
No.
Councillor Clark.
No.
Mayor Diamond.
Yes.
Councillor Dykstra.
Yes.
Councillor Gray.
Yes.
Councillor Harrell.
No.
Councillor Kolodzi.
Yes.
That's 6 affirmative, 9 negative.
The motion to waive the rules fails. You wish to present that as a notice of motion?
I will submit as a notice, and the new council will be able to deal with this very important item.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any further motions to be presented this evening? Okay. I would just mention that almost everyone was able to attend, but that last week we had the groundbreaking for the YMCA, which has been a long cooperative effort from our council, and very, very positive day for the city. The work will begin. They're still actually finishing the drawings for it, and the actual work will begin in January. And I've been down to check out the Canland facility, ice sports. They opened on time, within budget. The 2 NHL-sized ice pads are fully functioning. They are still finishing the restaurant, but it is a beautiful facility and a great addition to the city. So well done, Council.
Mayor?
Yes, Councillor.
Same theme, if I might, I'd just like to, I think all the councillors received a flyer in the mail with regard to the park, new park playground opening. at Lakeview Park on November the 1st. It'll be accessible to the blind and some of the physically challenged, and I think the opening will start at about 11:30 in the morning. We're very happy to go into partnership with the City of Oshawa and Don Robinson and the Builders Association of Durham Region, who've helped put this together. If you want to see something very nice happening at the lakefront, go down and have a look and see this playground being put together now. We know it's going to be ready for November the 1st, and we extend an invitation to everybody, all the councillors in the City of Oshawa, to come down and join us at the opening on November the 1st. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So it's a joint effort between the Central Lions Club and the City of Oshawa, and we said Ron Robbins and some of the others. I've also noted the number of children playing in the playgrounds with the new equipment. There is a tremendous increase in the number of kids using it. Now, I understand a couple of the bylaws are being pulled because some of the planning. The items that are being pulled, please, Councillor?
Which ones are being pulled?
Yes. Would be fees 110.97.
Oh, yes, the 108, 109, and 110. Yeah. Sorry.
That's so sorry. I meant which are being withdrawn.
Yes.
Thank you. Bylaws, Councillor Nicholson, you have them?
No, I have them.
Do you, Councillor Wiley?
Yes, I do.
Did you have your hand up for something else, Councillor Nicholson? Okay, thank you.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Clark that bylaws 98 to 107 and 111 be read a first and second time.
Are there any questions on first and second reading? Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Same mover, same bylaws, be read a third time and finally passed.
On third reading, any questions? In favor? Opposed? That's carried.
I have two others.
Okay.
Requires two-thirds vote to introduce. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Clark that the rules procedure be waived to introduce bylaws 112 and 113, and they deal with the declaration of certain lands to be surplus to the needs of the city, and a bylaw to prescribe a tariff of fees for the processing requests for the compliance statements and new public works service fees.
On the motion to waive the rules in order to allow the introduction, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. On bylaws, Councillor?
Yes. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Clark that bylaws 112 and 113 be read a first and second time.
On first and second reading, questions? In favor? Opposed? Carried.
Same mover, same seconder, same bylaws, read a third time and finally passed.
On third reading, those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Members of council, I just want to say thank you to everyone for, we've got a timeout here. I want to thank some people. Councillor Nicholson? Okay. Just want to say thank you to everyone for 3 years of very hard work. The council has put a tremendous effort in. To all of our staff, thank you. The progress has been tremendous. Mr. Brown, City Manager, on behalf of all the staff, you've really brought some very positive management changes to the city in this term. And a very special thanks and fond farewell to Councillors John Aker and Al Mason. You've served your community very well, to both of you. Councillor Nicholson, you had something else?
Question, if I could ask it off the solicitor under other businesses. I couldn't ask it because there was no executive report. We received a written legal opinion on a sign bylaw. And I'm wondering if that opinion is going to be brought forward by the committee at some point. Because I'm trying to understand how it applies to the other signs in the same category. Could somebody address that?
Councillor Wiley?
We've got it before us. We didn't have it.
Well, Madam Chair, the problem I'm having is this council requested the legal opinion. And although we received it individually, being put in our boxes, it's never been returned to the council as a whole. And I'm just wondering what mechanism is going to be used to bring that legal opinion back to this council who had requested the legal opinion.
I suspect that
That's what it's trying to determine.
I suspect that it'll be on the agenda of the first council.
That's okay. That's all I want.
Okay. Okay. Members of council, good luck on the trail, and thank you very much for the work that you've done. Confirming bylaw.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Mason, the confirming bylaw be read a first and second time.
The first and second reading by the two statesmen. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Same mover, same seconder, the same bylaw be read a third time and finally passed.
Councillor Eakers confirming bylaw. Those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Lucic? Thank you, Councillor. Seconded by Councillor Dykstra. Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Have your say. Call the Rogers Community Television Viewer Response Line at 436-3500.